What's up, everyone? You know who I am. I'm Jack Slater, the comic outlaw. Check us out on YouTube. And right now, we're doing something special, different. Let's get ready to rumble! Hell yeah! It is Lobo versus The Mask. Hell yes. And insanity is going to ensue, ladies and gentlemen. Outlaws of all ages, get ready for a war. And of course, this guy's walking by, just a typical criminal doing criminal things, living in the ghetto. Gets a gun pulled on him. He's not exactly having the best day. But you find out the person with the gun is actually a cop. Kind of undercover, just waiting to bust somebody. And while this guy's hiding out in the alley from the cop, he notices a green mask. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, someone is hiring and trying to reach out to Lobo. Yes, Lobo, the main man. Possibly the greatest bounty hunter in the universe, known pervert and killer. And he's wondering where the party's at because he's told there was one hell of a party. Beer in hand, ready to have some women, ready to drink some booze. But no. This king tells him there's a new terror in the universe, destroying things, destroying everyone, destroying planets. And yes, they've hired Lobo to rip this guy's spine out. To kill him, to bring him in and collect a hefty bounty on the side. And Lobo's all about the money. Meanwhile, this guy's kind of going back and forth. He picks up the mask, looks at it, and the mask has a charm, an appeal to it. As he looks at it, these creatures appear out of nowhere. And they begin firing at him, shooting him, looking for this terror that's been roaming the universe and killing everything in sight. But this guy puts the mask on and becomes the crazy, wacky avatar of Loki. And he decides with that big club where he's going to shove it first. Meanwhile, Lobo's kind of picturing what he's going to do with the money, getting his own private island, getting some women. I gotta love the island with all the cannons and everything. He's kind of plotting out what he's going to do. And away on his bike he goes to find this green bastard, to find this masked man that's been terrorizing the universe. And like Lobo really cares, he just wants the money. Meanwhile, these alien creatures do not know who they're messing with as the mask transforms into Batman, suitcase guy, a little devil, and he begins bashing away at them, blowing them away too. You gotta love the mask. His insane, cartoon-like powers. And he just pulls out this gun and boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. He just starts going to town on these guys. Hardly anything left as the last one is left standing. And still, stupid enough to threaten the mask. The mask decides to have himself a little snack. Literally eats him, and then inside of his mouth there's another mask character getting ready to fry and eat him so he could digest him. Whew, I tell you, the mask is one of those characters. Meanwhile, this cop guy that's dressed up like an old woman is still lurking around trying to bust somebody, and he comes across Lobo. Yeah, right. He points the gun at Lobo, and Lobo just tosses him to the side like yesterday's garbage. And like the cops are really going to do anything as a squad car pulls up and they yell, "Freeze!" Yeah, right. Lobo throws a big grenade and boom! Nothing but ash and cinder. Yep. Smells like burning chorizo to me. Meanwhile, the mask is kind of brushing, after a hearty meal of an alien. Trying to get that taste out of his mouth. While Lobo lies in wait. And the fight is on. The mask versus the main man Lobo. Blood for blood. Bone for bone. Now keep in mind, these two can fight and fight and fight. But the mask has sort of a reality warping power. So he sits there and goes into a little typing thing, where he's writing the script out. And Lobo's not having any of it. He just whacks the shit out of him. And of course they appear in an intermission. Because, comics. And of course, as people are critiquing their thing, they're kind of deciding what they're going to do. Lobo's having a beer. They decide to beat the crap out of the theater patrons. and they sit down, watch the movie, the story so far, as one would say. And as the mask begins ranting and raving, of course, Lobo shoves his chain through his nose, and of course the mask shoves an axe through his head. And then we have a little critic here who's criticizing everything, and he decides to take an axe and a chain in the head. Meanwhile, the whirling hurricane of death between the mask and Lobo, as they're hacking things off, hacking body parts off, organs, and they're just basically trying to rip each other apart. And I love this because Lobo's trying to figure out a way to kill him. I love how he just rips out his spine, tries to. This is one of Lobo's key moves. And he just picks him up by the head, spins him around, hooks him up to a taxi cab, ties him to a pole, straight up cartoon style, as his head is stretching, his neck, boom, boom, as he rips apart, until there's a foot still moving around, and Lobo decides to take care of that by squashing it down to make sure that there's nothing left of him. And yet, this character still comes back because he's the mask. He has powers of reality, and he can come back from the littlest or the biggest wound. And he appears as kind of a taxi driver from hell. These guys are having a big feud, and they're destroying this city. It makes one wonder, where are the other superheroes? And as you could tell, they're going on vacation. I'm not going to say who's who, but you could read the shadow outlines on who's going where and why. As this guy starts to criticize the superheroes, he gets himself a mollywhopping by them. Anyways, the Mask and Lobo are continuing their war, blowing shit up left and right. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And you gotta love this. They're going around the world, literally flying around, shooting each other, trying to blow each other up, trying to get the edge. Lobo trying to collect a paycheck. The Mask just having a good time. And boom! Yes. They blow each other up. They run right into each other, as both Lobo and the Mask go sailing down back to the city, crashing into buildings, not really caring who gets in their way, scaring the hell out of the news people. As this fight continues to rage, Lobo kind of gets a smile on his face. He loves a good challenge, and he loves a pretty lady. So, Lobo's having himself one hell of a good time, but the Mask turns himself into a King Kong version, a giant ape, grabs Lobo. Yes, he turned into a giant ape on top of this news tower. Lobo tries to take the upper hand, takes a few shots at him, and the Mask just eats him. Literally, and just burps him up. And as the Mask is like, I finally beat him. I defeated Lobo. I crushed the main man. And he's about to have a little victory pat on his chest, but Lobo cuts his way out. Literally, out of his stomach. Because he's the main man. And blows him up. Sets a little grenade in his stomach, which blows Lobo and the Mask to pieces as they go sailing down back to the city sidewalk. And are these two done? Hell no. Lobo grabs his knife with his tongue, the Mask grabs a bone, and they start beating the crap out of each other with their heads and tongues. This is effort right here. They're screaming at each other, neither one backing down, neither one giving an inch. But Lobo's healing factor needs time, whereas the Mask can just pop himself back up. And he decides to make Lobo eat some of those words that he was saying earlier. Quite literally, shoves them in his mouth. And this is where the Mask reveals that he's someone else. And this other person that you're looking for was the previous owner that wore this mask. And he can help Lobo find him and collect the money. So Lobo and the Mask decide to team up. They decide to find this former wearer of the other mask, the host. And will they find them? Will they succeed? Or will they blow up the universe? We'll find out the next time, won't we? And I'll catch you on the flip side.